Welcome back to the continuing adventures of the monad. In the last presentation, we started to look at the origins of Hylozoics and what it was trying to bring into the world. Two key points were described. The first was the trinity of forces that go up to make all reality in our universe. That trinity being matter, motion, and consciousness. The second point that was made is that Hylozoics is specially designed to appeal to the Western mentally focused mind. This type of thinking had not existed until the onset of the Greek civilization, and Pythagoras was the father of this new way of perceiving the world. A worldview that was used in concepts presented in material spiritualism, which is another way of saying Hylozoics. When the first three grades of Hylozoics were presented to the world through the works of Lawrence, terminologies were used that overlapped but did not fully equate to descriptions given by other systems of thought, such as Theosophy. It is useful for any student of esoterics to be aware how these terminologies equate to one another. Sacred Indian literature uses two terms that a student will often be presented with. The first is buddhi. I have spoken before about how any term related to the Buddha cannot apply to any plane or world within the solar system. Buddha took the I-8 and left the solar system. Nevertheless, the term buddhi is used, and this equates to plane 46, the unity plane, in the Hylozoic classifications. The second term is nirvana. This refers to plane 45, the lower spiritual world. Another example is the Theosophists use the term intuition to refer to plane 46 and spirit to refer to plane 45. Just to remind you, when I use the term plane, I am in fact referring to a world. This is a specific envelope of our planetary logos. Lawrence redesignated plane 46 to the essential plane and plane 45 to the superessential plane. Lawrence considers it meaningless when the Adya Theosophists speak of the spiritual world 45, the divine world 43, or the world of intuition 47:1-3, and plane 46. Personally, I can see what the Theosophists are getting at, but I can also see where Lawrence is coming from. Why is a world divine? Surely they all are. We, however, do need handles to navigate our way through ideas and concepts. As a student of esoterics, you just need to be aware of such distinctions in the use of terminology and not get confused by them. H.P. Blavatsky in The Secret Doctrine and Alice Bailey in Cosmic Fire use the terms cosmic physical to refer to atomic worlds 43 to 49. This is effectively referring to the solar system. Lawrence, in his inimitable way, considered the use of the term cosmic physical to be deplorable, as he considered it to be disorientating. I personally think that the term cosmic physical is perfectly functional, as it relates our solar system to the higher 6 cosmic kingdoms. However, Lawrence would prefer just to use the term cosmic to refer to anything outside the solar system. The solar system differs from the cosmic worlds because it contains molecular as well as atomic matter. Another interesting example is the Master DK's use of the term monad to refer to the third triad. He himself, however, goes on to explain the use of this word as meaningless. This is where the student comes to realize that as information has been revealed to us through the offices of the hierarchy, certain information was withheld only to be revealed at a later date. Maybe this has something to do with our receptivity to those ideas. Lawrence postulates that DK may have used a simplified explanation for the term monad because he did not want to then have to explain the concept of the primordial atom. This does not mean he skirted around the issue altogether. He describes the primordial atom as a tiny point of consciousness eternally present. You and I know what he's getting at. Why? Because we understand the concept that Hylozoics is putting forward. This raises the question, what is the purpose of the Hylozoic system? Hylozoics was presented to humanity to give us a comprehensive answer to the questions of the meaning and the goals of existence. Lawrence considers Hylozoics to be the only system that gives a rational explanation to the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. It gives a basic worldview, but not a life view, which contains facts of reality that are fundamental to the correct conception of our reality and is necessary for an understanding of life. This, as mentioned earlier, is the only reality system ever published. Other occult systems present a life view which is subjective and focused on the consciousness aspect, ignoring the matter aspect. Lawrence makes a bold claim that Hylozoics will never be dogmatized or superseded by a better system in the future. It is the only correct and therefore the only tenable system. Remember, we are dealing with reality as it appears on the first and not the second triad. Lawrence has a serious bone to pick with philosophers in general and states that Hylozoics puts a definite end to philosophical fictionalism with its endless mania for speculation. How you perceive this statement is clearly dependent on if you are a mentalist or an emotionalist. You know where I stand on this matter. Think of Hylozoics as a tenable common foundation to religion, philosophy, and science. It is an elementary textbook. The seeker has to convince themselves of the correctness of Hylozoics by examining whether it gives a reasonable answer to questions that would otherwise be inexplicable. It would not be correct to say that Hylozoics is about the knowledge of the hierarchy. We have to be clear in our mind that the fifth and sixth kingdoms of nature found on the second and third triads have a very different perception of the three aspects of reality, matter, motion, and consciousness, which are presented in Hylozoics. Hylozoics is a mental system of facts that are supplied to us by the hierarchy. Humanity is mainly focused in its emotional body, but what mental capacity it has is still focused in a slow step-by-step methodology of inference thinking. Bladden designates this type of thinking as associated thinking. Collectively, we still have to progress towards perspective or conceptual thinking. What are the limitations of Hylozoics? The first limitation is that it is a mental system. This means it uses our mental and not our causal envelope to process information. Our mental envelope exists on the first triad. In our waking state, we are aware of 3 dimensions. We know that there are many more dimensions in our cosmos than that. It is therefore self-evident that Hylozoics can therefore not be a firm system for all time and all planes of matter. What Hylozoics does is that it affords us a framework that does not contain anything that conflicts with reality. However, it is not a reality for the causal self, which operates in 5 dimensions. For something to be reality, it must be experienced, and Hylozoics is a system, not something that can be experienced. Only a causal self can experience reality on the first triad, as life alone is reality. A mental system is a theory, not life. It raises a very interesting fact about causal consciousness. It does not rely on concepts. It relies on intuition. What does that exactly mean? When you are able to experience reality on subplanes 47.1 to 47.3, the causal plane, the consciousness, motion, and matter aspect become a living reality. Our mental system is a substitute for life, as life cannot be bound by concepts. At present, we have working hypotheses, and these can never replace direct experience. So what are you trying to do as an esoterician? You are striving towards causal consciousness. This means you are trying to ditch the highest mental consciousness, which is systematic or universal thought, and proceed without them. To do this, you have to abandon your mental concepts of reality and try to identify with causal intuitional consciousness. You have to be aware that what Hylozoics is helping you understand is just a theory, which will be abandoned in due course. When do we abandon it? When we can experience reality, both in the present and in the past. Enter the Zen phrase, eternal now. We have furthered our understanding of what Hylozoics is all about. We can continue our discussion in the next presentation. Thank you.